we'll have the second session from Mr. Ranjit Kumar Diraviam from Wavywise. Mr. Ranjit is the CEO and founder of Wavywise Networking, working on IoT frameworks, manufacturing solution, which has 100 plus customers across the globe, and he has some 20 plus years of experience handling software as a service and installing software. So, I welcome Mr. Ranjit to give a presentation on accelerating India's manufacturing with Industry 4.0 from manual judgment to data-driven intelligence. So, Mr. Ranjit, over to you. I am making you the presenter. You can share your presentation and start.
Thank you, Mr. Raghav. Okay. Good morning, everyone. Thank you, TEC, and the other collaborators on this overall process on the creation of the document. And yeah, to start with, right? Uh, so how is the ecosystem, right? So when we step back 100 years back, right, the human brain is everything that made the decisions, right? So for example, our ancestors have the time, energy, and they had all the data, and they have the luxury to think over each and every process and make decisions, right? But today we are on a very fast-paced world where we have very little time to gather all the information, correlate all the information, and make decisions. Right, and also we are living in a phase of too much of information overload. Right. So that is and this is exactly what is happening in manufacturing. So we have too many notification coming up from the system. We have too many dashboards to look at. We have a very volatile or a dynamic environment in the manufacturing. So what is machines doing for us today, right? So machines are doing something miraculously good for us. That is like they synthesize the data, they make some decisions, some not exactly 100% decisions they will be able to make today, but they make decisions. Right? How is the world changing, right? So there is a recent study done by MIT USA where they have identified users aged between 18 to 39 and their brain activity who are using too much of chat gpt, right? So I would call it as too much of AI. Their brain activity has gone down a lot where they are making dependent themselves on the AI. So when the scenarios are changing, we really have no other choice. We have to depend on such technologies, such AI technologies, or the digital technologies for making our decisions. Right. So how is the overall how we are going to apply this for manufacturing, right? So when we look at the total manufacturing ecosystem of India, we have a few thousands of enterprise companies, right? And most of them, right? Most of them we have is like millions of factories or MSME, small, medium enterprise companies. So the problem faced by these companies are they work on a meager margins, right? Because they are mostly like tier two, tier three, tier four companies serving their products to their tier one suppliers. So they work on meager margins and they don't have enough time to do proper documentation, right? And their labor strategies are very weak and they have brain drain and everything. So all kind of problems are faced by these small companies where we really need to put focus for them to fill the skill gap, right? So because again, so why we want to focus more on MSMEs is like nearly 50% of our productivity or manufacturing output is dependent on these factories. Either they are suppliers or they are doing directly exporting. Excuse me. Hello. Yeah. Either they are exporting. Yeah. Either they are exporting or they are supplying to a tier one supplier. All right. So how this intelligence machines can help, right? So so when we plan to have a digital twin of your shop floor, right? So digital twin of your shop floor, we get all the kind of live data into our system, right? The system will have all the live data, and the key information is like production, machine utilization. So when we talk to factories here, the major problem is around the availability of the machine. The downtime of the machines are the major problems. So when we keep these data, right? So we have today the technology to acquire data, either using all the protocols which Kalyan was mentioning. So all these protocol data can be transferred into a common system to create live dashboards. Even the decisions can be made with the AI based layer, which again can be used. So this is something which every MSMEs can do with a very minimal infrastructure or the cost, right? So how this data driven decision is going to help the MSMEs today, right? So this is something which I'll quote something from our real time experience. We have been implementing a certificate of conformance, which is mostly followed in critical factories like aerospace or medical equipment manufacturers, where have to generate a certificate that all the components, all the history of the material used is from a legitimate quality control. They have been released. So such a process has been done manually for a long time. And when we implemented the digital transformation for such a case, they were able to reduce their timelines, right? So their timelines reduced from 30 minutes to less than three minutes. So that is the way the enhancements has been come, right? So I'll take another example. If we put a camera, so if we put a camera at any place, right? The standard says, or the data says, 50% of the crane rates come down, right? A similar analogy is something that we can apply to digital manufacturing as well, where if we start capturing data from the machines, we can definitely guarantee a minimal of 10% of increase in availability of the machines. So the major problem faced, I was mentioning, right? The major problem faced is the downtime of the machine without knowing the reason. So those part can be mitigated very easily by using these technologies, right? And in a similar fashion, we were able to maximize the capacity of the overall system by nearly 50%. So that is the track record, right? Again, so the AI again can help in places like automated quality inspection, right? So the critical, like, again the aerospace and medical components or defense equipments are most quality conscious things. So these things needs again 100% visual inspection, and the data backtracking, the traceability of data is very important. So these information, when we move this from manual data collection, manual data recording to a digital data acquisition, we just remove all the quality errors or the manual errors. We again will be able to have the data in time, and we'll be able to make real time decisions, right? So this is like uh, I was thinking about, like, we recently heard a news that China is working on a dark factory, right? Dark factory in a sense, like, there is no human involved in the system overall, right? We heard a similar conversation with the European company who is setting up a factory in Chennai, who does not want to have anyone on the shop floor, and they want to remotely manage everything happening from a control center. So that is the kind of transformation that is happening, right? Right. So how does this transformation happens? So this is a very important part, and this is something that has to be enforced by standardization, right? So, or some kind of incentives from the government towards the MSME. Since I was talking about MSME is the most critical part of backbone of Indian manufacturing ecosystem. So this is something that has to be achieved by standardization, right? So I have just segregated into four states, right? So when you talk to any manufacturing company, they will say, like, we are good, right? We are good and we don't have any issues. But there are two scenarios. One is like they don't understand what is really happening, right? In the shop floor. Number two is like, even if they know, there is still scope for improvement when they accept and adopt these technologies. So acceptance comes as a first part, right? And adoption, right? Adoption is something like they have to start small, right? Any factory, they can start small. As I was mentioning, like the downtime or the maximizing utilization is the first part, which each and every MSMEs or even this applies for enterprise. We were working with mid-sized enterprise where they first started with the OEE or availability calculation metrics, right? So acceptance and adoption is something that has to be done by the top management. These first two decisions to understand what's really happening and what has to be done and how to get started is something which the top management has to get started with, right? Once they do those two things, the next important part, which is again missed by most of the factories, is upskilling, reskilling their employees. And when I say employees, that starts from the top management, right? The top management, department heads, operators, quality guys, and everybody, right? So everybody has to be uh, uh, trained accordingly so that they were ready to adopt it or work along with that system, right? So that is again very important, right? The fourth part is understanding the overall system, right? So when we see the overall multiple factories, even though they do the same product, their process differs. So when their process differs, one system does not fit everyone. So they have to understand the system as a whole, how the metrics has been calculated, how the data has been acquired, and adopt it or change it according to what they want, what exactly needed for their factory. So this is one important step. The top management or somebody who they assign as a industry 4.0 expert or implementation guy should take care of this. Right. So this is that is something like you localize it for your own company. Right. So what is the bigger picture, right? So we'll talk about how the technology has been transformed, right? So every industrial revolution, right, when we talk from 1 to 4.0 or 1 to 3.0, has always been enhancing the people's capacity. It is not removing people, right? We have to first understand that, because like humans as a fear factor, we fear every technology that comes in. Let's take an example of a supermarket, right? So when you go back centuries, they have been starting with doing some paper-based calculation. Then a calculator comes in, then a computer. Today we are in an era of self-checkout. You take the things and you move on, and there will be a billing done on your card directly without any interface, any interface, or you have to stand in queue or anything. So what happens today is like we fear removal of jobs of accountants or billers at the shops, but these people are already replaced by a higher level of jobs at the cloud or a cloud based security systems. That's something which is really happening, right? So the Indian manufacturing ecosystem is also something that will move towards something like dark factories or remotely controlled factories, which again give us a much bigger edge over the other countries. The recent news again is that India has become a cost effective manufacturing hub, surpassing China. But how do we make Indian ecosystem more profitable? So these technologies, embracing these technologies will help India, MSMEs as well as enterprise move forward to a greater success, right? So the ultimate aim is just to make sure we keep the industry 4.0 inside our hands to make sure we make better decisions. Thank you very much. Thanks to everyone for your time, and thanks to Easy and everyone for the opportunity.